Commander Vrex studied Dr. Chen's face with all four of his visual receptors. In his 3 centuries of exploration, he had never encountered a species that surprised him. Until now. "You were expecting us?" he asked, his translator struggling to convey his disbelief. "How is that possible?" Dr. Chen gestured toward the night sky. "Follow me. I have something to show you that might answer your questions." The alien delegation followed her through the forest to a small research facility camouflaged among the trees. Inside, holographic displays showed mathematical equations and star charts that no human technology should have been capable of producing. 6 months ago, something activated in my mind during a quantum experiment, Dr. Chen explained, bringing up a brain scan on the main screen. At first, I thought I was having a breakdown. I saw star systems I couldn't possibly know existed. I wrote equations I couldn't possibly understand. Commander Vrex's exobiologist, Naren, moved closer to examine the brain scan. "These neural pathways. They're not typical for your species. They resemble patterns we've only seen in the most advanced sentients." "Exactly," Dr. Chen said. "And I'm not the only one. There are others like me all over the world. People suddenly developing abilities and knowledge they shouldn't have. We found each other and created this facility." She led them to another room where 3 humans worked on what appeared to be a prototype faster-than-light communication device, using principles that humans shouldn't have discovered for centuries. "The signal you detected wasn't accidental," she continued. "We sent it because we knew it would bring you here. Something is happening to humanity, Commander, and we need to understand what." Commander Vrex's security officer, Keldon, moved his hand subtly toward his concealed weapon. "This could be a trap," he whispered in their native language. Dr. Chen smiled. "It's not a trap, Officer Keldon. If we wanted to harm you, we wouldn't have bothered with the signal." The aliens froze. Their translator devices had been inactive. "Yes, I understand your language," Dr. Chen said. "I don't know how or why. It just appeared in my mind last month, along with 12 others I've never studied." Commander Vrex made a decision. "Show me everything." Dr. Chen led them to a secure vault at the facility center. Inside was a single artifact, a metallic sphere covered in intricate engravings. "We found this buried in the Gobi Desert 3 months ago. Carbon dating suggests it's been there for at least 50,000 years. As Commander Vrex approached the sphere, it began to glow with a soft blue light. Symbols appeared on its surface, symbols identical to those used in the Galactic Alliance's oldest records. "The sphere activated when I touched it," Dr. Chen explained. "It showed us star maps, coordinates, and you. Specifically you, Commander Vrex of the Celestial Seeker." Naren scanned the artifact, his expression shifting from skepticism to astonishment. "This technology, it's beyond even our understanding." "That's why we called you," Dr. Chen said quietly. "Something placed this knowledge inside us long ago, Commander. Something wanted us to be ready when you arrived. The question is, ready for what?" Outside the facility, unnoticed by those within, the night sky briefly rippled as if disturbed by an invisible wave. The stars themselves seemed to hold their breath, waiting for what would come next. The Global Dream Archive occupied the basement level of the Geneva Research Center. Dr. Chen led Commander Vrex through rows of holographic displays, showing brainwave patterns collected from thousands of human subjects. "We've been cataloging shared dream motifs for decades," she explained, bringing up a 3-dimensional model of neural activity. "Initially, it was considered fringe science, until we discovered this." She tapped the display, and the neural patterns rearranged themselves. Commander Vrex stepped back in shock. The pattern now perfectly matched the star configuration of the Galactic Alliance's central worlds, information no human should possess. "This exact star formation appears in dreams across all human cultures," Dr. Chen continued. "People who've never met, from isolated tribes to urban centers, all dream of these stars. We always dismissed it as coincidence." "Until now," Commander Vrex said quietly. Kilara, the xenolinguist, was examining ancient human texts displayed in another section. Her slender fingers traced symbols on a Sumerian tablet. Dr. Chen, these cuneiform markings, the ones previously untranslated, they're navigational coordinates, she said, her voice rising with excitement. They describe the passage through the Cygnus void. But that's impossible. Your species couldn't have known about the void until you developed deep space observation technology. Commander Vrex moved to examine the tablet. The Cygnus void wasn't fully mapped by the Alliance until 3 centuries ago. Dr. Chen nodded. Yet here it is, described in a text from 5,000 years ago. Across the research center, human and alien scientists were making similar discoveries. Ancient cave paintings from Australia depicted the unique triple-ring structure of the Alliance's capital world. Medieval manuscripts contained perfect molecular diagrams of elements only found on worlds humans had never visited. It's as if we've been carrying a galactic encyclopedia inside us all along, Dr. Chen said. Fragments surfacing in our art, our mythology, our dreams, waiting to be recognized. A junior researcher rushed over with a tablet displaying new findings. Dr. Chen, we've analyzed the children's language acquisition patterns. They're not learning Alliance languages. They're remembering them. Commander Vrex exchanged troubled glances with his team. This revelation would send shockwaves through the Alliance. Some species would view humans as a miracle, others as a threat. There's more, Dr. Chen said, leading them to a secure room where a young girl sat drawing intricate designs. This is Sophie. She's 8 years old. The child looked up and smiled at the aliens without a trace of fear. Show them what you drew yesterday, Sophie, Dr. Chen encouraged. Sophie proudly held up a detailed schematic. Commander Vrex recognized it immediately. The quantum entanglement engine that powered the Alliance's most advanced vessels. I saw it in my head, Sophie explained simply. It was like when you remember a song you heard a long time ago. Outside the research center, protests had begun. Some humans embraced the aliens' arrival. Others feared it. News of the awakening abilities was spreading despite government efforts to maintain calm. As night fell over Geneva, Kilara noticed something extraordinary. Hundreds of humans had gathered on rooftops and in parks, all facing the same direction, toward a star invisible to the naked human eye. They were looking directly at the Alliance homeworlds, as if called by something ancient stirring within them. Commander, she whispered, I don't think we discovered Earth. I think Earth was waiting to be rediscovered. The ancient chamber hummed with energy as Dr. Chen placed her palm against the central crystal. The walls, seamless and composed of an unknown material, began to illuminate with flowing script. It's responding to your bioelectrical field, Commander Vrex observed, his instruments measuring energy fluctuations unlike anything in Alliance records. The technology is designed specifically for human interaction. Kilara moved carefully through the massive chamber, documenting the cosmic map that stretched across the curved ceiling. These star positions, they're not current. This shows galactic alignment from approximately 80,000 years ago. Dr. Chen nodded, her eyes fixed on the data crystals now rising from recessed compartments in the floor, exactly when the genetic modifications to early humans would have occurred. One by one, the expedition team, 3 humans and 4 aliens, gathered around the central platform as the largest crystal activated. A holographic figure materialized, tall with elongated limbs and a distinctly non-human face possessing 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. Caretakers, the figure spoke in a language none of them recognized, yet all somehow understood. If you are receiving this message, the Sanctuary Protocol has entered its final phase. Commander Vrex stepped forward. Who are they addressing? Us, Dr. Chen whispered. Or rather, what we were meant to become. The holographic architect continued. Our civilization spanned 1,000 worlds, but we failed to evolve beyond our limitations. Logic without intuition, knowledge without wisdom. When we detected the approaching void, we calculated our extinction within 7 generations. The hologram shifted to show a vast darkness moving between galaxies, consuming light and matter. Our salvation could not come from what we were, but from what we might become, the architect explained. We selected Earth for its unique species, primitive but possessing remarkable neurological potential. We did not replace them. We merged with them, becoming part of their evolutionary journey while preserving our knowledge within dormant genetic sequences. Dr. Chen's hands trembled as she accessed more data crystals. They didn't just leave us information. They became us. The chamber's lights pulsed in response, revealing detailed genetic sequences spiraling across the walls. The architect genes had been designed to remain dormant until triggered by specific conditions, including contact with the very energy signatures unique to Alliance technology. It wasn't random, Killera realized, her voice hushed with awe. The chamber, the signals, the awakening, it's all part of a system designed to activate only when humanity encountered the right level of technology. In the center of the chamber, a new hologram appeared, a timeline showing human evolution with key points of architect influence highlighted. The genetic modifications were subtle, designed not to create a new species, but to enhance natural human capabilities, creativity, adaptability, pattern recognition, while embedding dormant knowledge that would surface gradually. The sanctuary was not just a hiding place, Commander Vrex translated from the wall inscriptions. It was an incubator. As the team processed this revelation, the chamber's floor transformed into a transparent viewing portal, revealing something massive beneath them. Stretching for kilometers in every direction was an ancient city, perfectly preserved in the Antarctic ice. This isn't just an outpost, Dr. Chen breathed. It's their last stronghold. Behind them, the entry crystals pulsed with sudden urgency. The chamber's translation matrix activated with a final message from the architects. Beware, you are not the only one searching for our legacy. The Galactic Alliance Council chamber erupted in chaos. Delegates from 17 species shouted over one another as the holographic evidence from Antarctica played on a continuous loop. The Duraxian representative pounded his crystalline fist against the podium. Quarantine is the only logical response. These humans are not what they appear to be, he bellowed, scales flaring with agitation. They contain unpredictable architect code that could destabilize the entire galactic order. Commander Vrex stood firm beside Dr. Chen, who faced the hostile council with remarkable composure. The awakening cannot be stopped, she explained. It's not a disease to be contained. It's an evolution that's been waiting to happen for 80 millennia. Across the chamber, the Meridian ambassador, representing the oldest Alliance species, raised her voice. The ancient texts speak of this moment. The sleepers will rise when the stars align. We have always known the architects had a contingency plan. Now we face the truth. Humanity is that plan. Outside the Council's orbital station, Alliance ships maintained an uneasy perimeter around Earth. On the planet below, the awakening accelerated. In a Tokyo apartment, a young programmer named Hiroshi woke from a vivid dream, his mind suddenly understanding the quantum principles behind the Alliance's faster-than-light communications. Without hesitation, he began building a device from household electronics that shouldn't possibly work, but did. In Nairobi, Professor Amara Okafor surprised her university colleagues by solving 7 mathematical theorems previously considered unsolvable. When asked how, she simply replied, "The answers have always been there. I just needed to remember how to see them." In the streets of Sao Paulo, a 12-year-old girl named Lucia began drawing perfect diagrams of stellar nurseries located in distant parts of the galaxy, adding details even Alliance astronomers hadn't documented. Back in the council chamber, Dr. Chen activated her neural interface, a technology she'd mastered in hours rather than the expected months. "The awakening isn't turning us into architects," she explained, projecting brain scans from hundreds of affected humans. "It's creating something entirely new. The architect knowledge is filtering through human consciousness, being reshaped by human creativity and emotion. Commander Vrex's science officer presented additional findings. The genetic sequences are activating in unique patterns in each human. No two awakenings are identical. This wasn't a blueprint for creating copies, it was a seed for something unpredictable. The implications stunned the Council. The architects, known for their perfect logic and methodical approach, had deliberately introduced chaos into their legacy through humanity's inherent unpredictability. They chose humans precisely because they couldn't predict what we would become, Dr. Chen continued. They needed something beyond their own imagination to face whatever threat they foresaw. As the Council deliberated, emergency alerts flooded in from Earth. The awakening was accelerating exponentially. Humans worldwide reported suddenly understanding Alliance languages without translation. Children were developing limited telepathic abilities. Engineers were intuitively grasping principles of antimatter containment. The Diraxian representative received a private communication and rose abruptly. This session is pointless. Containment measures are already underway. Outside Earth's atmosphere, a fleet of unmarked ships slipped past Alliance patrols, deploying stealth satellites designed to broadcast disruption signals across the planet. The Diraxians had made their decision. If the awakening couldn't be controlled, they would attempt to terminate it, regardless of the cost to humanity. The Diraxian blockade tightened, their disruption satellites activated in perfect synchronization, broadcasting interference patterns designed to scramble the neurological changes occurring in human brains. For a moment, silence blanketed the Earth as communication systems flickered and failed. Then the unexpected happened. In laboratories across Geneva, Dr. Chen and her team monitored the brainwave patterns of volunteers. Instead of suppressing the awakening, the Diraxian signal created a resonance effect, like striking a tuning fork that perfectly matched human neural frequencies. The dormant architect patterns didn't diminish, they crystallized. They've made a catastrophic miscalculation, Dr. Chen told Commander Vrex, through their secure quantum link. The disruption wave is acting as a catalyst. They're accelerating what they're trying to prevent. Across Earth, millions experienced simultaneous awakening. Children could suddenly perceive quantum states with naked eyes. Elderly people developed perfect recall of memories dating back to infancy. Ordinary citizens found themselves understanding complex mathematical concepts that had eluded them their entire lives. In the Diraxian command ship, Admiral Xereth received the preliminary reports with growing horror. "Impossible," he muttered, watching as his carefully calculated attack transformed into the very trigger he had sought to prevent. Commander Vrex had secretly dispatched his scout ships to monitor the Diraxian fleet. "This goes beyond military action," he informed the Alliance Council through an emergency channel. "Our scans indicate they've studied architect technology for centuries. This isn't fear. It's a calculated attempt to seize control of the awakening for themselves." On Earth, Dr. Chen made a breakthrough in understanding the process. Examining brain scans from thousands of affected humans, she identified the pattern. The architect knowledge wasn't simply overlaying human consciousness. It was being filtered through human emotion, intuition, and creativity, creating something neither species could have developed alone. The architects were beings of pure logic, she explained to the emergency response team. They could build incredible technology, but they reached an evolutionary dead end. They couldn't innovate beyond logical extensions of what they already knew. She displayed a holographic comparison of architect neural patterns and awakened human minds. Humans, however, make intuitive leaps. We create art. We dream. We imagine impossible things and then find ways to make them real. The architects needed that capacity, and we needed their knowledge. In orbit, the Diraxian flagship prepared its next escalation, targeted energy weapons designed to eliminate key awakened individuals. Their intelligence had identified Dr. Chen as the nexus point of the human response. But they hadn't counted on 17-year-old Eli Stone, an unremarkable student from Geneva who had been among the first to experience the accelerated awakening. While others gained knowledge or abilities, Eli developed something unique, the capacity to perceive quantum probabilities across vast distances. From his bedroom, surrounded by hastily drawn equations covering his walls, Eli reached out with his newly awakened senses and touched the Diraxian weapon systems. With a thought, he rewrote their targeting parameters at the quantum level. When Admiral Xereth gave the command to fire, his weapons turned on his own fleet. "We cannot stop this," Commander Vrex told the Alliance Council as reports flooded in. "The question is no longer whether humanity will transform, but what they will become, and whether we will be allies or enemies when they do." The Diraxian fleet hung in disarray, their weapon systems compromised by Eli's quantum manipulation. Admiral Xereth ordered an emergency protocol, cutting power to all ships to reset their systems. It would leave them vulnerable for precisely 7 minutes. Commander Vrex seized the opportunity. All Alliance vessels form a defensive perimeter around Earth. This is a direct order under Emergency Protocol Zeta. Half the Alliance captains complied immediately. The others hesitated, torn between loyalty to the Council and the growing realization that the Diraxians had violated Alliance law. On Earth, the awakened humans began to coordinate. Eli's quantum perception had limitations. He couldn't maintain control of the Diraxian systems indefinitely. Dr. Chen gathered 37 of the most powerfully awakened individuals in the Geneva facility's central chamber. "We need to pool our abilities," she explained. "The architects designed us to work as a collective consciousness when necessary." They formed a circle, joining hands. Their disparate abilities, mathematical insight, spatial perception, linguistic comprehension, quantum manipulation, began to synchronize. Individual minds remained distinct but connected, like instruments in an orchestra playing a complex symphony. In Antarctica, the ancient chamber detected the neural network forming above. Deep beneath the ice, systems that had lain dormant for 80 millennia hummed to life. The preserved city began to stir. Commander Vrex received an urgent communication from his science officer monitoring the Antarctic site. "Commander, something's happening. The chamber is activating systems throughout the solar system." On Mars, a portion of the polar ice cap suddenly reconfigured, revealing a massive structure that had been hidden in plain sight for millennia. Similar activations occurred on Europa, in Venus's upper atmosphere, and throughout the asteroid belt. A network of ancient architect outposts, disguised or buried, awakened in sequence. Admiral Xereth watched in mounting horror as his tactical display revealed the true scale of the architect presence in the solar system. "All vessels, power restoration priority. Resume attack formation." Too late. The neural network of awakened humans had reached critical synchronization. Through Eli's quantum perception, they identified the Diraxian flagship's vulnerability, subtle flaws in its shield harmonics that only became apparent when viewed simultaneously across multiple dimensional planes. "There," Dr. Chen whispered, her consciousness merged with the collective. "We don't need to destroy them. Just there." A precise pulse of energy, generated not by weapons, but by the synchronized thought of 37 awakened minds, struck the Diraxian command ship, its communication systems overloaded, broadcasting every secret file in its database to all Alliance vessels simultaneously. The truth was exposed. The Diraxians had discovered an architect outpost 50 years earlier. They had reverse-engineered the technology, while hiding their findings from the Alliance, planning to eventually dominate the other species. Their attack on Earth wasn't to prevent danger. It was to eliminate competition. As the Alliance processed this betrayal, something unprecedented occurred in Earth orbit. The ancient defense systems activated not to attack, but to project a massive holographic display visible to all ships, a complete star map showing thousands of hidden architect installations throughout the galaxy, each one pulsing with renewed energy. Below, in the Antarctic chamber, a final message translated itself across the walls. "The network awakens. The Guardians rise. The preparation for what comes beyond is now complete." The Diraxian attack faltered in the face of ancient defenses they hadn't anticipated. Their disgraced admiral, now exposed to the Alliance, ordered a desperate final strike. Energy weapons targeting Earth's most populated regions. The weapons fired, energy beams cutting through space toward the vulnerable planet below. They never reached their targets. The awakened human network, now numbering in the thousands, sensed the attack through Eli's quantum perception. Acting as one mind with countless facets, they reached out to the activated architect systems throughout the solar system. Ancient technologies, monuments to an intelligence that had foreseen this moment millennia ago, responded to their call. From orbit, Commander Vrex watched in awe as gossamer shields materialized above Earth's atmosphere. Not solid barriers, but intricate webs of energy that absorbed the Diraxian weapon's fire completely, converting it to harmless light that bathed the planet in a brief aurora. Not destruction, Dr. Chen whispered, her consciousness still linked with the collective. Transformation. The principles became clear. The architects had never built weapons of mass destruction. Their defensive systems were designed to convert hostile energy into beneficial forms. Preservation rather than annihilation, a reflection of a species that had evolved beyond the need for conquest. Commander Vrex brought this revelation to the Alliance Council through emergency channels. They could have eliminated the Diraxian fleet instantly. Instead, they chose to protect without destroying. Consider the implications of a species with such power choosing such restraint. In the Antarctic chamber, the ancient city continued its awakening. Deep beneath the ice, preserved architect technology interfaced with human consciousness in ways its creators could never have achieved themselves. The synthesis created something new, a hybrid understanding that unlocked possibilities neither species alone could have conceived. Through the neural network, Dr. Chen accessed the chamber's deepest archives. The truth revealed itself in cascading waves of information. The architects had advanced to the very limits of technological achievement, mastering energy, matter, and the fundamental forces of the universe. Yet they reached an evolutionary impasse. Perfect logic without inspiration, limitless knowledge without wisdom. They could predict the future, she told Commander Vrex, but couldn't imagine beyond their predictions. They saw the threat coming from beyond the galaxy, but could conceive only of logical responses that would ultimately fail. The architect records confirmed. A cosmic entity approached, a consciousness vast and incomprehensible, capable of consuming entire galaxies. The architects had named it simply the Void, a force that operated on principles their logical minds couldn't comprehend. They needed dreamers, Dr. Chen continued. Beings capable of irrational hope, illogical leaps of faith, and solutions that transcended pure reason. They needed humanity. As the collective consciousness expanded, humans worldwide contributed their unique perspectives to the awakening. Artists envisioned new applications of architect technology. Children intuited connections that had eluded the architects for millennia. Philosophers questioned assumptions the logical architects had never thought to examine. The Diraxian fleet, weapons depleted and secrets exposed, had no choice but to withdraw. The Alliance Council convened an emergency session to address the new reality. Humanity wasn't simply joining the galactic community, they were transforming it. In orbit around Jupiter, an ancient architect observatory activated its long-range sensors, focusing on the dark space between galaxies. Something moved in that darkness, patient, ancient, and drawing steadily closer. 6 months transformed Earth beyond recognition. Ancient architect structures rose from hidden places, seamlessly integrating with human cities. Knowledge that once would have taken centuries to develop now flowed freely through the awakened population. Yet humanity remained distinctly human. The architect influence enhanced rather than replaced their essential nature. Dr. Chen stood on the observation deck of the Alliance flagship Harmonious Discovery, watching Earth recede as they approached the galactic rim. Commander Vrex joined her, his 4 eyes reflecting the distant stars. The Council is still adjusting to the new reality, he said. Some species embrace humanity as saviors, others remain wary. They should be, Dr. Chen replied with a small smile. We've surprised ourselves as much as anyone. The expedition fleet, 20 ships combining Alliance and Earth technology, traveled toward the coordinates where Eli's quantum perception had detected disturbances in the fabric of spacetime. The young man himself stood in the ship's newly designed perception chamber, his consciousness expanded to scan vast regions ahead of them. "There's something elegant about how it all unfolded," Dr. Chen continued. "The architects could have tried to make us into versions of themselves. Instead, they trusted that what made us different would ultimately be what made us valuable." The fleet reached the edge of the galaxy where the stars thinned into the great void beyond. Eli's voice came through the ship's communication system, calm but urgent. "I can see it now. It's not what we expected." On the main viewer, sensors detected what appeared to be a vast, dark nebula approaching the galaxy. But it moved with purpose, contracting and expanding like a living thing. Energy readings indicated it operated on principles beyond Alliance science. "It's not consuming," Eli explained, his perception reaching further than any technology could. "It's transforming, converting matter and energy into something else, not destroying, changing." Commander Vrex studied the readings. The architects saw this as extinction because they couldn't comprehend existence in another form. Their logical minds interpreted transformation as death. Dr. Chen's eyes widened with realization. They couldn't imagine a solution because they couldn't understand the problem correctly. They saw an enemy when perhaps there was only an inevitability. In the perception chamber, Eli made contact. His awakened mind, blending human intuition with architect knowledge, reached toward the cosmic entity in a way the architects never could have conceived, not with calculation or logic, but with curiosity and openness. The response came not in words or data, but in impressions, vast, ancient awareness, neither malevolent nor benevolent, simply different. The void wasn't consuming galaxies but transforming them, preparing space for a cosmic evolution that operated on timescales beyond comprehension. "It's a natural process," Eli relayed, his voice filled with wonder. "Like stellar formation or galactic evolution, but on a universal scale." The architects saw it as death because they couldn't imagine existence beyond their understanding. As the expedition returned to Earth with their findings, humanity faced a profound choice: to fight the inevitable or to prepare for transformation. The architects had chosen the former, ultimately failing. Humanity chose a third path: to understand, adapt, and guide the process. Dr. Chen addressed the newly formed Earth Alliance Council, her words echoing across thousands of worlds. "The architects gave us knowledge. We gave it meaning. Together, we found a way forward neither could have discovered alone."